how to run like a well-oiled machine. Howdy, I'm Dr. Alejandro.
And I'm Dr. Emily.
And as many of you know, we have 3 clinics on our first 3 years in practice.
If you enjoy our content, make sure you subscribe and share with your colleagues and future colleagues to get on the path to victory.
Emily, what is the biggest compliment you could get as a business owner?
One of the biggest compliments we could receive is that our business is sufficient and that we run like a well-oiled machine. I had a patient recently who told me this. He said, I've been to many chiropractors, but you guys are by far the most efficient. You get me in, you get me out, and your business is like a well-oiled machine. And that was a really cool compliment to receive.
You get me in and you get me out.
Right.
No one wants to wait.
That's right.
So let's break it down. How do you go through that efficiency?
Well, for starters, everybody on the team has to be on the same page. Everybody's got to be on board with the mission. They have to understand why we're doing what we're doing. And then everyone needs to be present. And so one of the ways that we do that is we got to kick off our morning right. And we've talked about this before, but that morning huddle is one of the most critical points of our day.
What do you go through that morning huddle?
So we do a devotional, we do a prayer because that's what our office likes to do.
It's part of the mission, the values, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
We set our sight on Jesus. We surrender it all to God. We pray for every single patient. And then what we do is we go over the schedule because the schedule is like the key that holds all the weight in the business for that day. So what we go over is, okay, what is this person doing? And where could some congestion occur? So our space is only 1,400 square feet. For 4 doctors and 6 staff, that's a lot.
That's a lot of traffic.
That's a lot of people. That's 10 people in a 1,400 square feet, not to mention all the patients who are coming in and out. So what we need to do is figure out, okay, this room's available at this time. This room's not available. We need to basically like a Tetris game. Which pieces fit well? How can we maneuver them? How can we get, hurry up this person or make sure it's efficient here? And then understand and recognize this person might be waiting a little bit and we'll have to deal with that. So maybe we can bring them water or bring them something or talk to them about maybe their ledger or their care plan at that time, just to understand and recognize that it's going to be a little bit of a wait.
And you already know, and the staff knows which patient likes waiting and which patient likes being in and out.
Yep.
If you're waiting a lot, we'll give you some therapies to do,
right?
Correct?
Exactly. And that's a big key to what we do. We learned this probably too late, but what we learned is for the technique that we do upper cervical, we do knee chest. And so a key part of the upper cervical technique is resting after you get adjusted. But what we learned is that we can make things more efficient. We can actually clear up our reception room and we can allow people to pre-rest. And pre-rest not only helps with our congestion with our flow, but it also helps the patient acclimate to the AC. It makes our Titron or thermography scan that much more accurate, and it gets people relaxed before they receive an adjustment. So we have these zero gravity chairs where people can lean back. And what's really cool is not only do they rest after if they need an upper cervical adjustment, but they rest before. And some people love that. For some people, that's the only time of their day that they're slowing down, that they're just taking a minute to just be still. And I think that has not only helped with patient compliance, with patient care, with patients actually getting better and holding their adjustment, but it also helps with flow. And so part of that is scheduling and knowing which patients like to rest and pre-rest. Some patients don't like to pre-rest, or some patients bring in their 5 kids who are all under the age of 8. And so we probably can't put them in a resting room where it's supposed to be quiet and peaceful. But along those lines, I did hear a really good kind of ratio that your square footage should be able to hold the amount of people that you see per month. And we're right about at that level of that 1,400 per month. And so knowing that and understanding that means that we know how many people should be in the building at a given time and how many more maybe we can grow for that month, or maybe we need to tone down or scale down, which we don't typically do. But knowing that, we also decided to open some rooms upstairs because we at one point hit max capacity. We had some bottlenecks going on in the office and we realized that we need to maximize our space. And so we actually have some little office spaces upstairs that we were able to utilize. So,
and we had to open Fridays as well. That way we could give more hours for patients.
Yes.
But every time what I think, if a patient is waiting 30 minutes, that means that parking lot has been occupied for 30 minutes.
That's right.
So that's why we need to move. And that's when efficiency comes.
Yep.
It's the Chick-fil-A story that they were serving the tea from up. Once they changed it to the bottom on the right side, they were seeing, I think it was like 50 more cars per hour, something like that, like crazy. So That's why we hire someone that the role is floater, and it's someone from resting people to bringing it to the room, from bringing it to the room to bringing it to the front, because that's steps that we could avoid, and that saves a minute or 2 minutes per patient.
Yeah, and let's say it only saved 30 seconds, but if we're seeing 100 patients per day, that is 50 minutes of people that, of time that we don't have and that we could be serving other patients. And another way to save time that we've really had to learn the hard way is not spending 15 minutes per patient. We don't have time for that, especially with the volume that we see. But on that same token, you're not doing the patient any good or more service by spending more time with them. You're actually doing them a disservice, because that means that you have just become their counselor and their therapist, and they're telling you all their problems, when in reality you're just their chiropractor. I'm here to assess and correct your nervous system, and then let your body do the rest. So you need to slay that subluxation, make them smile, and move on to the next patient.
And it's not about saving time, but it's about being present and
Right.
helping the person. If you could help that person fast, you could help the other person faster.
Yep.
The more people you can help, the less people are going to be on pain medicine or surgery. That's how I look at it.
And there's a doctor that we know of, Dr. Rob Schiffman, who I think he's in Indiana. He sees, I believe, 1,500 patients a week by himself. 1,500 patients per week. And that's insane. And they actually did a survey at his practice, and they wanted to know, how long do you believe that Dr. Schiffman spends with you per patient? And patients perceived that it was about 5 to 7 minutes based on this survey, when in reality he was spending under 60 seconds per patient. Because to be able to see 1,500 per week, you can't spend 5 minutes per patient. That's insane. Or you'd be there all, 7 days a week, and you just can't do that capacity wise. But you mentioned Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is, I believe, the third largest fast food chain now in, at least in the country, but they are closed 1 day a week. They have a disadvantage versus all the other fast food services. And this is why we love Chick-fil-A so much, but they are so key on efficiency. And part of that is having the right staff in the right places. They started, taking orders outside on an iPad, and then you go to the next person and you pay, and then you go to the window and you receive your food. And then there's even somebody now at the end who's like handing out your sauces, which I just think is so cool. But they figured out how to become a well-oiled machine. And I think it's always cool to go to different businesses and study what works. Go to a business, go to a cafe and sit down and drink your coffee and just study, like, what do the workers do? What's the energy? What's the flow? And from there, you can really get key things. We also like to study churches, because there are some churches that have such good business models. And I know that sounds weird, but a church is a business at the end of the day, right? They need to make money. They need to pay their staff, and they need to be able to donate and do cool missions and do cool volunteer work. And it's really fun to go to different churches to figure out what their mission statement is. How does their staff greet people? What's the cleanup process like? And a lot of it is all volunteer based, which is so cool. So that really just speaks to people being on that mission and being just so enthralled in that, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's why we go to the 4 locations that we have at Victory. We go, and sometimes we surprise the doctor and make sure everything is running smooth. Because if I go to the Victory in Lubbock, it has to run as the same as in Tulsa, Abilene, Missouri. So everything has to be the same. So like Chick-fil-A, you order chicken nuggets, you're going to get the same chicken nuggets throughout the country. So absolutely big fan of that.
I love it. One more quick way to save time, and we learned this the hard way, was sending new patient paperwork online. What a concept, right? A lot of the times we need to utilize technology to our advantage. We have so many resources that we can use, and by doing it old school, you're not always doing the best. I think you could really speed up and make things more efficient. We send new patient paperwork online because they can fill it out on their phone or on their computer. And that way, when they get to the office, we print it out and they're ready to go. So just little ways that you can spend time. If you are a chiropractor currently, if you're running a business, if you're struggling and you don't know how to save time, maybe do an audit of the time that you're spending, even for an hour. What am I doing during this hour? How am I utilizing my time the best? And then from there, you can make improvements. And if you even need more help with that, we are happy to help chiropractors, students, people looking to open a business. We're happy to help you.